Boiga divergens. He loves you, Donnie.
Oh yeah.
Grumpy, grumpy. The thing that's really interesting about mangrove snakes is they're very reactive animals, and I find them interesting because you kind of have to work for your you know, interacting with them. They want to kind of do a lot of biting because they're really nervous. And remember, snakes are not mean. They're nervous and they're scared, so they're very defensive. So when you see a mangrove snake flattening out his head, lunging and doing all this, rattling on his tail, everything it's doing is because it's terrified, or it's scared of you, or it's feeling, it's just being very reactive. So I take these animals out of their cages at the moment, and I put them in little bins, and I'm just kind of looking them over because we're in the breeding season, and I put them in these little bins. They're not exactly thrilled, and then when I'm sticking a camera in their face, they kind of react to that. So let's take a look at a couple of these guys. You'll definitely start seeing some animals that are very, very grumpy. These guys are nocturnal. So Donnie, we know what that means, right?
They go to sleep at night?
Yes.
No? No? That's not right? No. Okay.
Nocturnal means that they like to come out at night. So when there's you know, no daylight, and their eyes are situated better for night vision and stuff. So when I'm taking these guys and putting them underneath the lights and basically exposing these cameras, they are at the most reactive time. But what's interesting about them at night, they're on fire at night. So when I play with them at night, they're very alive and they're doing a lot of their classic nonsense. So these animals are actually venomous. Did you know that?
No.
So what they have, they're rear fanged.
Okay.
And that means that they have fangs situated in the back. There's no, their venom delivery system is not under pressure, so it's a lot of chewing. And this venom is just modified saliva, and it's designed basically to disable the prey that they're eating. And what's interesting about mangrove snakes will eat a lot of different things. So they're opportunistic feeders. So these we eat rodents, birds, other snakes, frogs, lizards, pretty much anything in that category roughly, they're going to want to eat it. So they're pretty interesting. So I'll play with one of these guys. So what the animal's doing is hoping I would go away, being very defensive. I don't ever pick these guys up behind their head. I just I handle around what they will tolerate, and they're pretty good. They hate the camera, I can tell you that much. You're gonna definitely get some whacks at your camera.
That's fine.
At some point.
So why aren't you scared to handle it if it's venomous?
Well, because I've never gotten an envenomation at all, and I understand them pretty well. They're pretty reliable, and when I do handle them with my hands, one thing I will say, here we go, come here, come on, is when I hold things with hooks, sometimes animals react a little severely with the hook and a little bit less reactive when I'm using my soft hands. She's not turning around and biting me. What she does is she's more interested in trying to scare you off. Definitely a challenging species to work with. We'll go to another one.
You know what the problem with making YouTube videos with Kevin is he's so calm with all of his animals. They don't do anything cool in the videos, like bite the camera or try to bite him ever. They're the complete opposite of everybody else that's on YouTube.
No, it's I want to show you. I want to show you how remarkable. Let me show you guys all a little trick. So I have a snake like this, and if this snake starts turning to its left, what I'll do, and it's try to turn around and collect up on me. What I'll do is I'll twirl around with it. But the animal's not doing it at the moment. It was just doing it for a sec, but you saw I just like twirled around. Mm-hmm. That basically what I'm doing is the animal fixates on something in the room. So if I go like this, it wants to kind of stay at you. So if it's turning around to the right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that way and it'll correct it. And that way the animal's always kind of pointing away from me. So if I feel like this animal wants to square up and turn around and start biting me, then instead of actually having to, you know, horse my way through handling it, I can just do a little bit of finesse, and I still achieve what I want to do, which is not to get bit, and I don't want to stress the animal out. This one is probably definitely grab it at the moment. She's a big girl, so she's flattening out her head, just totally not liking things. See how pretty. What a wonderful, wonderful species. These guys are consistent rodent feeders for me. So that can be a little tricky with some mangrove snakes. They can be a little picky, especially when they're babies. So there's a fair bit to breeding these guys. They also have a very long incubation. And one thing they like to do, they like to eat each other. It's very much to the detriment of what I'm trying to accomplish, is when you have an animal that goes and eats another one.
Well, with their eggs, would they eat their eggs too? Or they just eat the other snake?
So far, no. So what's interesting about my mangrove snakes is they actively nest, and they'll actually kind of guard their eggs. So what she's doing, the way she's moving her head, she's reacting to the camera. So just, through my understanding of snake behavior and snake body language, she's telling you, I don't like the camera. So the camera kind of just wigs them out. But her tongue is going pretty well, so she's thinking and investigating things. So now she's huffing and puffing. So if I put her back, hi sweetie. All right, here's a male. He's frustrated. He's getting too much attention. So see what he's doing. He's rattling his tail. So this is a very defensive behavior, and basically just trying to be very, very scary. You'll even see cobras do this.
Why is he rattling his tail if it doesn't make any noise?
He wants to appear as so threatening, and he'll puff up. He'll do all sorts of crazy stuff, and bam. So then he pulls back and gets himself ready for another strike. But what he's doing, he's reacting to, right now, it's the microphone. I was catching water snakes the other day, and the water snakes were slaying the microphone. Look at that. Big, beautiful tongue flicks. Hi, sweetie. So what we can do to kind of bring this guy down is we stop letting him fixate on that. So if I just go like this, break it up, get him down, he'll start squaring up again. There's something going on with the camera. So I think as whatever it's sending out for infrared, these guys are picking up on it, because other than the fact that it's looming, but it's behaving like there's giant eyes hanging over it. Hi, buddy. Isn't that pretty? See, I just kind of work around it. I don't get bit.
Not yet. I'm waiting for the day.
Well, I've been doing this quite some time. Okay, here's the female. She just recently laid a clutch of eggs. This little girl. So she's thin right now. So we're gonna fatten her up. So hi, baby. But she was very defensive. We won't probably mess with her too much because I do want to feed her. And so some of these guys, a lot of colubrids you can double clutch. So that means if your husband is really on point and you're feeding and the amount of fuel that's going into the animals is really good, you potentially can get more eggs. So this is the first clutch of eggs. And these guys take about 100 days to incubate. And a couple things I'm going to tell you about this. They're rather sensitive eggs, at least in my opinion. I breed a lot of like pythons and stuff like that. And what I'm noticing is these eggs are very sensitive to heat and just getting their incubation right. So what I do is I tend to incubate these a little bit drier, but then I include water vessels. See that? That's called the water vessel, Donny.
Is this a secret? Do other people do this?
I don't know.
So I cut this out of the video.
I don't know. So one thing is I teach myself a lot of stuff, which means I make the mistake 10 times before my dense brain can actually understand that maybe I'm doing something wrong. So when we use substrate, this media, this is basically, essentially what this is, perlite with a water gel mixed into it. So we see that like the water crystals, we see it with like horticulture, certainly with crickets and stuff like that. So we take perlite and mix it with that, and you make this stuff called hatchite. So hatchite is pretty cool, and that holds moisture. And what it does is it makes that moisture available to these eggs in the form of direct contact and humidity inside the enclosure. The trick here is to have something that's pretty much just lightly ventilated. So we do have some gas exchange. So these eggs are going to draw in oxygen and they're going to release CO2, among other things. But so basically, because as this embryo is developing into a baby snake, it's metabolizing and using its fuel, which is the yolk, and that then it turns into building the snake's body, you know, and the skeletal structure and all that. So it has to respirate, so that egg is actually breathing. So I want to make sure that I manage the humidity correctly. You getting bored?
No. Yes, but keep going.
I make sure I manage the humidity correctly. So if I made this too dry, these eggs, my favorite word. What's my favorite word, Donnie?
Desiccate.
Desiccate. Yes, these eggs will desiccate, and that is not a lovely thing because desiccation means embryonic death.
So anyways.
Embryonic death.
Yeah,
Right.
Embryonic death. That's a metal song. That's one of my next songs.
That is a good song.
Embryonic death. Ugh. Yes, so it will dry out. If I make it too wet, the egg will actually get a fungal or mold or bacterial infection and will also die. So these look really good. I'm really thrilled with these. These eggs are further along. So these eggs were laid 3:30.
Do not touch. Kevin was very upset when I moved these eggs. He did not want me to drop these.
Yeah, we just don't. Yeah, I really was, because these are like a big deal.
I know.
These babies. I have a lot of people that want these guys.